If you've read something about semaglutide causing a lot of muscle loss, it's nothing more than a drastic reduction in calories without any strength training. And you could say that about any drastic weight loss diet. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there's no mechanism in semaglutide that makes you, and I'm air quoting, makes you lose muscle.
No.
It's simply a drastic reduction in calories and a lot of weight loss.
That's how it works.
Suzanne Robb, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you, Rick Mayo. Pleasure to be back.
We're formal. We're very formal.
Yes, we are.
I call you Mrs. Robb.
Well, I'm not
Miss
a
Robb?
Mrs.
Miss Robb?
Sure.
Okay. Miss Jackson. So did you prepare? Do you know that we're back to dad jokes this year?
Mine is kind of a combo, did you know? Dad joke.
Oh, well, let's hear it. Let's see what you got.
Did you hear about the bossy man at the bar?
I don't know. Why am I laughing? No.
He ordered everyone around.
Mine's the same. It's a combo. Did you know that diarrhea is hereditary?
No.
It runs in your genes. That's so stupid. Yes, we're back, folks.
All right.
So, hey, we're able to combine both Did You Knows and dad jokes.
joke.
It takes a very advanced podcast crew to do this. So just to let you know, we're working hard on your behalf.
Yes.
But all that being said, we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, if you will, in the fitness industry right now, which is, drumroll, semaglutide.
Right.
A weight loss drug. And we're going to talk about what it is, how it works. Is it friend or foe of the fitness industry overall? What do you think?
Well, I think it's definitely a friend. I think it works. It's very effective. It can assist somebody with understanding their dietary requirements or kind of reprogram their brain in terms of how much they need to eat and what types of food they need to be eating. I don't think it has to be a foe to the fitness industry. In fact, I think it's a friend, because when people feel a little bit better about themselves, they're more likely to want to go to the gym, want to work out, want to build some muscle. It doesn't have to break down all your muscle and make you a floppy,
skinny mush pile.
A skinny mush.
Hold that thought.
A skinny mush pile.
Hold that thought, because you're going to get way ahead of me.
Yeah.
And I have to stay in order because my brain only works in order. So first of all, what is it? And I'm reading my phone because there's some terms in here that there's no shot that I'm going to remember. And so,
It's big words.
yes, let me get to it. Let me see. What is it? What is it? What is it?
It's a glycogen.
It is. So basically, it belongs to a class of medications known as glucagon-like peptide-1 receptor agonist, or GLP-1 RAs. It mimics the GLP-1 hormone that's released in the gut in response to eating. Now, traditionally, it will prompt the body to produce more insulin. So it's been used to treat type 2 diabetes for like 15 years, right? But in a certain dosage amount, GLP-1 also interacts with some brain chemistry that will act to suppress your appetite and signal when you feel full.
Right.
So first and foremost, it has been around for a while. It is FDA approved. It's typically been used for diabetes because it does have an insulin response, and a positive one. But again, at a certain dosage, which may be a bit more, still in the safe range, it will basically trigger your brain to tell you that you're full earlier. And so what I want people to hear is there's no magic to semaglutide. It's literally just a brain signal, for weight loss anyway, a brain signal that tells you that you're full earlier. So all it's doing in its bare essence is making you eat less food.
Right.
Period.
It really does suppress your appetite quite a bit.
Yeah, it does. So, and I know folks that are on it, and I'll go out to eat with them, and I'm like, man, you ate half your plate. And like, I am stuffed, right? So it's literally, it's a brain signal. So if you look at it that way, if it's simply used as a weight loss drug because it signals your brain to tell you that you're full, that is it. And we're not going to get into the science of, the diabetic side of things today. It's probably a little bit out of our scope. But I think we're going to talk about it through the lens of the fitness industry, because I think I was always under the impression, and we've probably had these conversations a million times in our meetings, is like, listen, if they ever come out with a drug or a pill, fitness industry's dead in the water because people come to us as a weight loss solution.
Right.
I would agree with that, but I would also say that it depends on your brand and what your brand promise is and what you really do for people, right? So essentially that's the mechanism, right? It's you do one injection a week.
Right.
You typically can get it as a generic drug called semaglutide. Some of the other forms that you've heard of are Ozempic. There's another one, Wegovy,
Mounjaro.
Yep.
There's numerous name brands, but you can also just get
you get from a compound pharmacy straight up semaglutide.
It's much less expensive.
Yeah, exactly. Go figure, right? Mm-hmm. So you take the brand off, it's much less expensive. So it's essentially a brain mechanism to tell you that you're full earlier. So it causes weight loss for that very reason. Now, some of the negative side effects that can happen are upset stomach. I don't know if you experienced any of that, because Suzanne's going to actually, she's actually taken semaglutide and is going to talk about her personal experience around it as we wrap up today. But did you experience any negative side effects?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
Upset stomach?
I had stomach pains and just maybe it's the sense of fullness, but like bloating, and it just felt like somebody kicked me in the gut most of the time, which means then you're not really very hungry. Like the last thing you want to do is put food in your stomach when you feel that way. And for me, it was gradual because they start you at a very low dose and then they titrate you up month over month. So by month 3, it wasn't worth it to me.
Right.
Because my stomach hurt all the time.
Right.
And I thought, okay, I can do this now. My brain has been rewired. I know how to eat. I know what to eat. I know, what to do. So I only took it for the 3 months.
Well, and that's the key. I think, can you use it for a long period of time? So far, it's early innings, but for weight loss and the dosage that's required to, essentially trigger this brain chemistry change, there's not a lot of research that shows anything negative about it to date. And so then the question is there are some basic side effects. They're going to tell you about those. I know that there's even medications that can help mitigate that, right? But if you use it through the lens of what you talked about, which is it's going to change my behavior around food, you're probably going to see a small reduction in appetite even post, right? And if you use it to say, well, maybe I didn't need that much food, or maybe your stomach has shrank a bit at this point, right? It's like it can be a long-lasting sort of trigger for new behavior, right? Or a catalyst, if you will, for new behavior. And so I think that's a good thing. And so then the question is, well, is it what we thought? Meaning, will it actually hurt the fitness industry because it's seen as a weight loss tool? And I don't know if you guys know this listening, but you and I certainly have talked about this. Lifetime Fitness, which is a big, corporately owned sort of family health center that has restaurants and everything in it. I mean, a lot of you guys listening are familiar with Lifetime Fitness. They're actually running a program now where they're prescribing semaglutide for their members. And so it's like, oh, wow, why would you do that? That's going to cut into maybe your personal training revenue because personal trainers are seen as a weight loss solution. But here's the deal. Like, again, the friend or foe, you mentioned it earlier. I see it as a real positive for our industry. We're going to talk a little bit about why. I think first and foremost, it depends on your brand promise.
Right.
And I'm not going to throw shade specifically. I'll mention a brand here, but listen, like I just want people to move more. Caveat, look, if you just get out and exercise, it's better than nothing. I get it. There's also a lot of other things to consider, cardiovascular health, like all these other things, right? But if in fact you're on it's a peptide. So if you're on a peptide that is reducing your appetite through some brain chemistry, right? Would it be best then for your actual exercise to go and do like high intensity interval training, or what's commonly known as HIIT training, which is basically like a hopped up cardio class? And again, not to throw shade at this brand, but probably the most prominent one we can think of is like Orange Theory, where you're spending 75% of your time rowing or running and a tiny little bit of strength training, right? Probably not. And here's why. And a lot of you guys, we've talked about Dr. Peter Attia. Obviously, he's got his new book, Outlive. He's talked, at length about semaglutide and its effectiveness. And they do prescribe it to their patients. And to mind you, he's the foremost anti-aging doctor in the world, right? But he said there's one caveat to that. He will not allow patients to take semaglutide or prescribe it unless they are doing strength training, right? Because, what they're seeing, and I think anybody listening to this, certainly if you're in the fitness industry, this makes sense. If you drastically reduce your calories and lose what would be seen as like a large amount of weight in a relatively short period of time, if you're not doing strength training, you are going to lose as a percentage. Some of that is going to be lean mass, right? And as we know in our age population, like your strength, your balance, your metabolism, your general health is driven by your muscles. I mean, there's even evidence now that your muscles are an endocrine system. As they get exercise, they put out like a happy chemical for your brain. And so like we've been advocates of that the whole time. But through the lens of this conversation, think about it as mitigating the negative effects of rapid weight loss. And that would be losing lean tissue. And we've always known, like there's tons of studies that say go on a really calorie restricted diet. One group does strength training, one group does not. The group that does not do strength training, they lose a lot of muscle. So if you've read something about semaglutide causing a lot of muscle loss, it's nothing more than a drastic reduction in calories without any strength training. And you could say that about any drastic weight loss diet. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, there's no mechanism in semaglutide that makes you, and I'm air quoting, makes you lose muscle.
No.
It's simply a drastic reduction in calories and a lot of weight loss.
How it works.
Yes. And so if you look at brand promises and you look at, say, Alloy as an example, we're always, because of our population that we target, we are strength first. That's the most important thing you can do for your metabolism, for your health, for your strength. And we talk about osteopenia starts happening in like your early 30s. It's like, look, keeping your lean mass may be the most important thing for your longevity, period, right? And so these people that are seeing this massive reduction in weight loss, they're not doing strength training. And so I think for a brand like Alloy, which is based strength first, move more, get your heart rate up high every now and then for your cardiovascular health, we're perfectly aligned for that. And I think when people start to hear these things like, hey, I can take semaglutide and lose weight, but if I lose a lot of weight, I'm going to lose muscle, and people now know that losing muscle is a bad thing, it's a negative ramification, then our brand is perfectly aligned to say, hey, I do want to lose weight. I do want to rewire my brain and maybe learn some new behaviors and how much food I really need, right? And how I can feel if I lose this weight without losing muscle, then we are the perfect solution. So to your point earlier, I see semaglutide as a friend to the fitness industry, not as a disruptor or something scary.
Agreed.
But it really depends on your brand promise, because you're not going to maintain your lean mass running on a treadmill, rowing for 75% of an hour, right? For 45 minutes. You're not. And you're not going to feel good, quite honestly, on a drastically reduced calorie diet, right? Having to do like, sorry, put that closer to your mouth. Sounds dirty, but it's not. You're not going to, feel like doing high intensity cardio on a drastically reduced calorie diet. As a matter of fact, do you remember the old like doctor scientific weight loss where they basically they'd give you some kind of drugs and put you on a really low calorie diet? We had some friends that did it back in the day, and they would lose all this weight rapidly, but they would be down on some ridiculously low calorie count, right? Same thing, right? It would be the same mechanism as semaglutide.
Right.
The people that did strength training could actually preserve their muscle while losing a bunch of weight. And tons of studies have already established that. So I see it as a friend if your brand is aligned to offer a strength-based solution for the sole purpose of either muscle preservation or addition. And again, if you're listening to this and you're a fitness novice, it doesn't mean hulking muscles. Like that doesn't happen by accident. It certainly doesn't happen in a massive calorie deficit, right?
No.
So the goal would be to build some muscle, keep it while you're on some type of a weight loss journey. I'd say overall, but if semaglutide comes into the picture and it increases that, certainly the speed of it, it's even more important that you do strength training. Would you agree?
Yes, I would agree.
So all that being said, I see it as a massive plus for us. As you guys know, we've got a podcast coming out in 2 weeks. I had Rami on the podcast. We've launched a partnership with Merrick Health. Where we do detailed blood work. It's not part of our business model per se. It's just a vendor. So for those of you guys that are with Alloy that are listening, it's like there's nothing you need to do. You don't need to be trained on it. We just kick them over and we get some baseline blood work. But all that being said, I think it aligns perfectly, again, with our brand, where we're headed in the future. And it's not a risk at all. And so I'd like to just, in short, talk about your experience, because you tried it and you lost a lot of weight, right, in a short period of time. So, and you've been look, fitness is a journey. You've been it's like you're the hair club for men guy. Like, I'm not just a client, I'm also a customer. I'm not just the owner, I'm also a customer.
Yeah, going on 30 years.
Yeah. So, and you've seen like ups and downs, and you go through tough personal time. You're like, I got abs, because you're not eating, right? And it's like, oh, I'm fat and happy, and then I'm back down. And we all do it,
it's
right?
It's a journey for sure, ups and downs.
So that being said, you might say like, why would the a principal owner of a fitness franchise look at something something like this because it's a behavioral change and there's no negative side effects if in fact you do strength training. So I'd love to talk about your results first and foremost and what you've learned.
Right.
And then I think you have a few friends that have been on the journey who are not maybe doing what you're doing, kind of what they see. So why don't we start with that? So tell me about your experience.
Yeah. So first of all, it was my cardiologist who said, you might try this, because I've tried every diet known to mankind, intermittent fasting, Noom, Jenny Craig, Weight Watcher, like all of them. I've been on all of them. And they all work a little bit for a little while, but if you don't really change your lifestyle, your habits for the long run, once you stop the diet, everything just comes back. So I was really frustrated, and my cardiologist said, why don't you try this? And so I'm like, okay. So I was on it for 3 months. They titrate you up. They start on a low dose.
It's weekly injections,
Weekly injections.
Subcutaneous, so it's not a painful injection or whatever.
And I was nervous about doing that myself, but
it's like a diabetic needle. It's really
so
small.
easy. You don't even feel it going in. Like it's super,
That's what
super,
she said. Anyway.
super easy.
Sorry, I can't not.
I know, right? Sorry. I know. I need to get my mouth closer to this thing too. He said.
Always. Anyway.
So I lost not a huge amount of weight right away. And my counselor warned me about that. She's like, you don't have that much weight to lose. You're not going to see 15 pounds in the first month. That happens with some people when they have a lot to lose.
Well, and look, this is a great treatment for people that are obese because, you're talking about this is like a much less invasive version of like getting your stomach stapled or any of those things, right?
100%. So I got good counseling, and so I was losing about 5 pounds a month consistently.
That's awesome.
Which,
that's a safe amount of weight to lose, right?
It seemed to me like at the beginning, it's like, oh my God.
Right.
You just want instant.
Right. Always.
So, but it was literally 5 pounds a month, and that was consistent. So after 3 months, I decided that I didn't like the side effects, and it just wasn't worth it. And I really did feel like I learned so much in terms of how much do I really need to eat. And like the example that you gave, I was literally eating half of what I was accustomed to.
How were your energy levels while you were in a calorie deficit?
It was fine.
So you were fine.
It was fine. And I also continued working out just like I have for years
3 days
and years
a week
and years.
At Alloy, yeah.
And there was a couple of times I remember feeling like maybe I just didn't have the energy like I normally do. But I think that happens from time to time anyway.
Look, if you went on a keto or a carnivore or Atkins
even if you just didn't sleep well the night before, you could be,
Exactly.
So I'm not I don't know, that just happens from time to time. But I was very consistent, and after about 3 months I went off of it, but I continued as I do to this day with my newfound habits. I was eating more protein. That was something I was not doing enough of before, and so.
Have we talked about that before? Well, I laugh about that because I think for whatever reason, and this is certainly a blanket statement, it may be untrue in a lot of cases, I do see, certainly in my circle of influence, family, friends that are female, they have a hard time getting enough protein. Right. Where guys are like, what? I can eat all the protein I want. This is great. Right. Again, not wholesale, but for the most part, as a percentage, I see more women struggling to meet their protein goals.
And I certainly was one of those. But it's like the old adage, I knew exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I just wasn't doing it, Yeah. So it's like, how can I be the COO of this awesome fitness franchise and know all of these things, but I still wasn't doing it?
It's called being human. All that. Yep.
So I kept at it. It took me about 6 months. I lost 30 pounds, which is about 5 pounds more than I had.
And that's I get air quoted. That's a safe amount. Like a pound a week or a little more than a pound a week is very doable.
Right.
Now, if you're obese, you might lose more, but you need to lose more faster. You did not.
Right.
You weren't you weren't overweight, right? You just had some weight you wanted to lose.
Right. Exactly. And I had set myself a goal, which was, how much I weighed when in my mind, was in really good shape about 20 years ago.
Right.
And I got to that weight, and the InBody said I still had a few more pounds to go. So I just kept going. So I'm at my goal weight now, and I've maintained that now for a few months. And I'm not concerned. I have known people that have lost a significant amount of weight using a semaglutide. But then when they went off of it, they gained a lot of that back. And that's because they just went back to their crappy eating habits.
Right. So I think it's important for us to hear, like, it can be a catalyst for to learn if you're wired like Suzanne and you're like, oh, this is interesting. I actually do have enough energy to function and I don't need that much food, right. to function, and I'll lose weight. But that's the key. But if it's just enough to give you a jump start, you have to stick with it. And there's not enough real evidence for long-term usage just for weight loss to know good or bad.
Right.
I guess if your side effects are mitigated, I mean, if you're taking it for type 2 diabetes, which a lot of people have for 15 years, not necessarily any negative side effects other than just the stuff we've talked about.
I think that's true. And I've heard that most of the side effects, at least the ones that I had that were stomach related, dissipate after a while.
Right.
Well, for me, I was just like, you know what? I had lost half the weight. I'm like, I can do this.
Love it.
And so I just did it without having to stay on the semaglutide. But I have a friend who started about the same time that I did on a semaglutide, and she had great results as well. Now, she lost more weight than I did in about the same amount of time.
Did she have more to lose?
Yes,
Okay,
had more to lose. And she's not one, she walks, like, but doesn't do weight training or strength training. So she's very thin now, and she looks...
Wait, before you go there, I want to hear your results, then we can contrast those with her. Do you mind sharing?
Yeah, so my results are,
so
I lost 30 pounds. I had lost a half a pound of muscle, only a half a pound.
Crazy.
Since this was like March of last year, or I'm sorry, this year, March of this year. But in the past, I just did it in body, and in the past 2 months, I've actually gained a half a pound of muscle.
So you're right back where you were muscle-wise. So you're 30 pounds down.
Yes.
And the first measurement you took, you had only lost a half a pound of muscle.
Correct.
Now, again, to our point earlier, like to Peter Attia saying, hey, I'll allow you as a patient to take this only if you mitigate the muscle loss that comes with fast weight loss with strength training. Imagine losing 30 pounds of essentially fat, right?
Yeah.
Because you only lost a half a pound of muscle, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And you did that through your normal routine, 3 days a week at Alloy, right? And we're strength-based first.
Yes,
so
always.
Amazing.
And I think that the half a pound that I've gained, and I'm still hoping to do more with that, my workouts, I can push myself a little bit further. I'm 30 pounds lighter, so I can do a pull-up. I can do heavier things. I'm not as achy, like my joints aren't as achy. My back doesn't hurt, like all these things. So I feel like I can push myself a little bit further,
there you go,
which will help with building a little bit more muscle back.
Yeah, but to lose that much weight and only lose a half pound of muscle, I hope that's probably the most important thing I want to come out of this conversation is friend or foe, certainly friend to Alloy. And then we can talk about your friend, and then we'll talk about like how that extrapolates out for like a general population and what that can do for Alloy and why we shouldn't be scared of it. If anything, it's going to help us. So those are your results. Tell me more about your friend. I know you don't like, we use an InBody here. If you guys aren't part of Alloy and you're just listening to this, InBody tells you it's basically the most advanced, electroimpedance, measure device for like lean body mass, water mass, fat body mass. Like it puts it
visceral
all together.
Fat,
everything that's going on inside your body, right?
Yeah.
So that's what we're using as a measure, which is the best one that we have access to. Obviously, your friend didn't do that, but let's talk about her for a minute.
So she lost an enormous amount of weight in about the same amount of time.
6 months?
6 months. And she stayed on the semaglutide the whole time. She's very thin now, and she looks fantastic. Well, she says, I look great in clothes.
Right.
But she said, I am, a bag of mush. It's saggy
well, and
skin.
I think the term would be, and listen, we're not trying to be derogatory. I don't know if your friend listens to our podcast. I'm assuming not. But, the term that we would often use is like skinny fat. Like, you're still healthier if you get that weight off of your body.
No
But
question.
I don't think anybody that's on this journey that says, I want to look good, feel great, live life to the fullest. That's our brand promise.
Yeah.
They don't want to be super skinny fat. Now, they'll probably choose it over being heavier, but still not ideal.
Well, right. But one of the things, and, of course, I'm always on her, like, you need to come to Alloy, you need to come work out with me, right? And she says she is starting to, I think she's starting with like a Club Pilates kind of thing, with a reformer, and it's, easier. Well, it's a segue in, but at least she's like using her body as resistance and things like that. Something. But before, when she was heavier, she wouldn't have even gone to a gym.
Right.
So now at least she feels like, and I know this is just kind of flawed thinking, but I need to get in shape before I can go to the gym.
But I love that you said that. I didn't think about that, but like, I can't tell you in the 32 years we've been in business how many people I've sat down with who are like, or I'll see them at a party and
I need
they're
to lose weight
sucking
before I
down
come to the gym.
pina colada and eating a brownie, and they're like, I need to, baby carrots, increase your blood sugar. I'm like, I don't think it's your problem. But in somewhere in that weird conversation, they'll say something like, first I want to lose some weight, and then I'm going to come to the gym. So if we look at semaglutide through the lens of like, hey, you're going to feel better when you lose weight.
Yep.
You are now feeling the self-efficacy of having done the thing that you wanted to do, even though you have this massive assist of semaglutide. It doesn't matter. You look in the mirror, like, I'm the person that loses weight. What does that person do? So that little bit of self-efficacy could be, to your point, motivation to then do the other things.
Yes.
And again, to not be a bag of mush or whatever, however she described herself. Everybody knows I need to start working out. I think a lot of the stigmas around strength training, especially if you've already lost a lot of weight, are gone, right? And so I see it, as long as your brand is dedicated to strength first, as a perfect example of your friend. It's exactly what we're going to see industry-wise.
Yes.
People losing weight. Now they're feeling better. Now they're like, okay, next step is blank, right? And the next step would be like, I need to, and I'm air quoting, get in shape. And they know that like, okay, strength is going to do that for
100%.
me, right?
And at the end of the day, my friend, when she was heavy, she had high blood pressure and she was on medications. Now that she's lost all the fat, all the weight, she's not on that anymore.
Yeah, so
and
it's healthier.
The blood pressure comes down. It's better for your heart. I've got heart disease in my family, so that's something that I've always been really careful about. And I mean, that's why it was my cardiologist that said, hey, let's get you on this. And I haven't been back to her yet, but I can't wait to go get on that scale.
Yeah, girl, get the like, what have you done? Oh my God, look at you. So, I mean, essentially that's it in a nutshell. There's not a whole lot more to say about it. I didn't know if you had anything to add. I've just talked incessantly as always, but is there anything that I missed?
No, I think that for people that have a little bit or a lot of weight to lose, it's a great tool. I don't think that there's bad side effects. The stomach thing, you can put up with that. It is a great way to retrain the way you think about food and your approach to what you eat and how much you have to eat. I eat pretty much what I want. I usually have pretty good choices, but I just don't need to eat very much. And I think as we age, we just don't. I mean,
right. And as long as what you are eating, to your point, you are getting enough protein. You start with that as a basic goal, right? Because that's your building blocks. And again, having Alan Oregon on the podcast, things like just protein synthesis alone. So eating enough protein, even without strength training, has resulted in a mild increase of muscle mass, which is crazy to think about. So like if you're doing that and your strength training, it's going to mitigate the muscle loss. To your point, I still think it's an amazing number. 30 pounds of weight loss in a relatively short period of time, healthy amount of time, but still short period of time, with only half a pound loss in muscle. And I'm sure if you talk to your friend and she had done an in-body, it'd be significantly more. And there's where the negative reports are. But remember, that salacious headlines, they get clicks, and it will be something like somebody's going to print it, semaglutide, wrecking metabolisms, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
There's no mention in there of why, which is like rapid weight loss of any type without strength training is going to cause lean tissue.
I've seen those headlines, and I've had other well-meaning friends say, oh, this is going to ruin you.
Yeah,
and
you're going to ruin your metabolism. But what they're forgetting is like, no, you can mitigate all of that just like you would on Atkins or intermittent fasting or any other strategy. So if you think of it as just a strategy to eat less, and that's basically what it is, right? As a peptide, as long as you do strength training, you're good. I think our brand is perfectly aligned with that. I think it will help. So any of Alloy franchisees, if you hear about it, don't be scared of it. Like, it's just a tool to help people lose weight. You've heard Suzanne's results. And if anything, there's a segment of the population that's going to lose weight because of this. And our clients are the ones that are going to look for these things because they have means, they can pay for it, they can go to these functional health doctors, they can, like if they're an Alloy, they can do the Merrick Health blood work.
Absolutely.
Merrick uses it as a tool for certain situations, right? Not everyone, but certain situations. And so I think it's a great tool, and I think it will motivate people to then do the next healthy thing, which is to start working out.
Right.
And we are the perfect solution for that, right?
100%.
And so I think if we keep that abundance mindset, I'm excited about it. I don't think we plan on doing anything with it like in-house as a brand at all. But I think having this alliance with a vendor like Americ Health, where we can look at blood work and get these markers, and in certain situations, they will actually suggest it as a solution for weight loss. Certainly, if you have some high blood sugar and some things like that, because there's some benefits, with the diabetes as well.
100%.
As an example, like my daughter's 24, she took the Americ Health one. She did the really advanced one because there's like 2 options, basic and then advanced. She did the super advanced one, and she had a little bit of thyroid stuff going on. And she had some blood sugar issues, right? And so it's like they put her on Semaglutide for a minute. And she's had a little bit of the, the side effects of an upset stomach. Not bad, but just only at first.
Yeah.
But she's like, I'm just not as hungry.
Right.
But she does strength training as well, right? So she's going to be just fine. So it's not just for our age population. I think we're going to see it more often.
Right. Well, and the Americ Health thing, it's a great resource because I know that when I first started getting interested, like I'll try anything kind of thing.
Right. Yep.
I had nowhere to go. And a couple of my friends that were on it, I had called their doctor. Well, they weren't taking new clients. And so it was like, well, shoot. I mean, I ended up like going to my cardiologist. She prescribed it. But if you don't have those resources, Americ is a great
it's telehealth.
resource.
It's all 50 states. It's like they're going to, and they're looking at, and I think the primary words here, they're looking for more optimal. Right? Not normal.
Right.
Because as you know, you go in and you're in your 60s now, you look amazing, but you go in and they're like, oh, Suzanne, you're normal. Right. It's like, but what's normal?
I don't want to be normal for a 63-year-old.
You've been to Disney World? You've been to the airport lately? Like, that's normal. You want that? No. You're pushing for optimal, and that's what our brand is all about.
Right.
So it's like, look, I think it's a great tool. I think especially if you guys listen to Suzanne and the way that she viewed it was like, hey, I've learned, she's using it as a learning tool. Half of her fat loss came from not being on semaglutide, just adjusting habits, right? And it's something that you could go back to post holidays or whatever, like on and off. And some abdominal or some, intestinal distress or whatever may happen at certain dosages. Do that, do what you want with that, I guess, as whether or not you can tolerate it. But I see it as a real positive for our brand. I don't see it as a magic pill that does all things.
Agreed. And it's really positive for everybody because you're going to be healthier. Your blood pressure is going to go down. Your heart's going to be healthier. You're going to be able to move without pain. There's just so many benefits to it.
Yeah, and I see it as long as it's popular, I see it as something that will increase engagement in an Alloy-like location more so than it will be a detractor. Like, I don't need you guys. I'm going to do this for weight loss. It's like, great, but... Right, you've read the salacious headlines of like losing all your muscle mass now, and healthy that could be.
Don't have
Not
to.
in this case. Yeah, lose 30 pounds, lose half a pound of muscle, and now you said you've put on like a couple of pounds, or you've replaced that, and then maybe a little bit more.
Right.
Has your weight gone up with that?
I think I vacillate by about a pound, and I don't weigh myself every day. I'm not like crazy about it, but about once a week. I can tell by the way my clothes fit, or I should say my new clothes.
Yeah, but by the way, Suzanne's looking pretty hot. She's like way down. She's super skinny. But.
Oh gosh. Well, so, and I know that there's fluctuations, but my goal now is to add a couple more pounds of muscle back on. So
yeah, love it. So that's our take. Like we've got, one of our owners, principals, my partner, Suzanne, has tried it. Had great results, mitigated any muscle loss, felt better, all these other things. I think all the things that we know in this industry that come along with weight loss, but you can do it in a healthy way.
100%.
And so if you guys are hearing about it or reading crazy headlines, like you don't have to poo-poo it. I think it's a massive, it will help us more than anything as long as you understand how we fit into that matrix and that you have an abundance mindset. I see it as a boon for us, honestly.
Me too. Yeah. Me too. Cool. I do too.
Anything else to add?
No, I'm just excited for our franchisees and our members who will have access to all of this stuff. And it's really about wellness, and it's not just being in the gym and working out and getting some muscle tone. It's really all about all over wellness.
Right. Now, I'm glad you said that word tone, because I can imagine like your friend who might not be the most versed, and nobody is really in strength training and what all it does, but I can hear somebody say it. And if you're in the industry or you're with an Alloy, you've heard this a million times, like, I just want to tone up, right? I want to get toned. Now, that's not the right term, but we're not going to split hairs.
No.
But at the end of the day, what they're saying is like, hey, I've lost this weight. I feel good now. What's next? Okay, now I need to tone up. And I'm air quoting that if you're not watching. Well, we're the perfect solution for that. So again, I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but I see it as a real plus for us. So I hope that helps you guys understand where it is.
Yeah.
If you're with Alloy, we now have this vendor partnership with Americ Health. And they can do this detailed blood work, and perhaps that's a place where they can go and get it if their normal doctor doesn't know anything about it. Again, not to throw shade at like general GPs or whatnot, but a lot of them aren't in great shape themselves. They don't understand how to eat healthy. They're not really going to be able to help you in some cases.
Yeah.
So let's look to maybe someone that can and look for optimal. And then if you guys are seeing it as a threat, don't use it. It's perfect for our brand. I wouldn't want to be in a class-based hit brand right now because I think that's the exact opposite of what this person needs. That's not necessarily the best setup to gain or to preserve and or gain a little bit of lean tissue. So, I mean, for us, I love it. And so I hope you guys hear that. And thanks for sharing your story. I don't have anything else to you. Pretty good dad joke today, too, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Anyway, Suzanne Robb, everyone. Cheers.
Cheers.